The lunch crowd barely noticed the black Rolls-Royce pulling up beside the tiny food truck. In downtown Chicago, people were too busy chasing deadlines and overpriced coffee to care about another rich man stepping onto the sidewalk. But inside the faded blue truck called Rosie's Kitchen, Olivia Carter noticed him instantly. And then she ignored him. "Next customer," she said flatly, scribbling an order onto a grease-stained notepad. The man stood there in a charcoal suit worth more than the entire truck. Tall, calm, sharp blue eyes hidden behind sunglasses. Every employee from the nearby skyscraper seemed to recognize him. Whispers spread through the line. "That's Ethan Vale. The billionaire? CEO of Vale Industries?" But Olivia didn't even look up again. "What can I get you?" she asked coldly. The man removed his sunglasses slowly. For the first time in 10 years, their eyes met. Olivia's stomach tightened instantly. No way. No. Impossible. Ethan stared at her like he'd seen a ghost. Her hands trembled slightly as she gripped the pen harder. He looked older now. Stronger. More dangerous somehow. But those eyes were exactly the same. The same eyes that once promised her forever. The same eyes that disappeared without explanation. "You want to order or not?" Olivia snapped, trying to hide the panic in her voice. The people in line looked confused by her attitude toward one of the richest men in America. Ethan leaned closer to the service window. His voice dropped to barely a whisper. "Still remember me, Liv?" The air vanished from her lungs. Because the boy who once left her broken in a motel parking lot had just walked back into her life as a billionaire. And he was smiling like he never forgot her for a single day. Olivia spent the next hour pretending her entire world hadn't just collapsed. "Turkey melt," she called out mechanically. But her mind stayed trapped 10 years in the past. Back when Ethan Vale wasn't a billionaire CEO. Back when he was just a broke college kid with messy dark hair and impossible dreams. Back when they lived inside a rusty apartment above a laundromat in Detroit. She remembered cold nights eating instant noodles together. Remembered Ethan sketching business ideas onto napkins while she laughed beside him. "You're crazy," she used to tell him. "And you love me for it," he'd grin. She did. God, she did. Until the morning he vanished. No goodbye. No explanation. Nothing except an empty closet and unpaid rent. Olivia had spent years hating him. Years rebuilding herself from the humiliation. Now she owned a struggling food truck inherited from her late grandmother. It wasn't glamorous, but it was hers. And somehow Ethan Vale had appeared again like a ghost wearing a $1,000 suit. She looked across the street. His driver waited beside the Rolls-Royce while Ethan stood alone near the sidewalk, watching the truck quietly. Watching her. A young businessman stepped up excitedly. "Miss, do you know who that guy is? He owns like half the city." Olivia forced a fake smile. "Congrats to him." The businessman laughed nervously. "You really don't care?" "No. That was the problem. She cared too much." As the lunch rush slowed, Ethan finally approached the window again. This time his expression carried something heavier than confidence. Regret. "I just want 5 minutes," he said softly. Olivia crossed her arms. "You disappeared for 10 years. I know. You broke me." His jaw tightened painfully. "I know that too." For a second, the noise of the city disappeared around them. Then Ethan quietly placed something on the counter. An old silver necklace. Her necklace. The one she thought she lost the night he vanished. And suddenly Olivia realized something terrifying. Ethan hadn't forgotten anything. Olivia stared at the necklace like it might explode. Her grandmother's silver locket. The one Ethan clasped around her neck the night he told her he loved her. "You kept this?" she whispered before catching herself. Ethan nodded slowly. "Every day." She hated how sincere he sounded. Hated how her chest tightened hearing his voice again. "You don't get to walk back into my life because you're rich now," Olivia snapped. "That's not why I'm here." "Then why are you here?" Ethan glanced around at the busy street before answering carefully. "Because I've been looking for you for years." Olivia laughed bitterly. "Funny. You disappeared pretty easily." His expression darkened instantly. "You think I left because I wanted to? Didn't you?" Ethan looked away. That silence hurt more than words. A black SUV suddenly pulled beside the curb. 2 men in expensive suits stepped out quickly. One of them approached Ethan. Sir, the board meeting starts in 20 minutes. Ethan didn't move. I'll be there later. The man looked stunned. Sir, investors flew in from Tokyo. I said later. Olivia watched the exchange carefully. The powerful billionaire standing in front of the world suddenly looked like the same stubborn boy she once knew. But now there was exhaustion in him. Heavy exhaustion. The assistant lowered his voice nervously. Sir, your father called again. Everything changed in Ethan's face. His jaw locked tight. His eyes went cold. Olivia noticed immediately. Still scared of him, she asked quietly before thinking. Ethan froze. That question hit too deep. The assistant awkwardly stepped back toward the SUV. Olivia folded her arms again defensively. You know what's funny, she said. For years I imagined what I'd say if I ever saw you again. And? She swallowed hard. I thought I'd feel stronger. Ethan stepped closer to the truck window. You are stronger. No, she whispered. Because seeing you still hurts. For the first time, Ethan's composure cracked completely. Pain flashed across his face so fast most people would have missed it. But Olivia saw it. Because once upon a time, she knew every piece of him. That night, Olivia closed the food truck later than usual. Rain poured across the empty streets as she counted crumpled cash inside the tiny kitchen. Business had been terrible for months. Rent was overdue. The truck needed repairs. And now Ethan Vale had returned to destroy the emotional stability she fought years to build. Her phone buzzed suddenly. Unknown number. She almost ignored it. Almost. Hello? Don't hang up. Ethan. Olivia shut her eyes instantly. How did you get my number? You still use your birthday as your password. Her heart skipped involuntarily. You remembered that? I remember everything about you. Silence filled the line. Dangerous silence. Outside, thunder rolled through the city. What do you want from me? Olivia finally asked. Ethan's voice sounded tired now. Honest. One dinner. No. One conversation. No. 5 minutes where you actually listen. Olivia laughed bitterly. I listened 10 years ago. Look how that turned out. Another silence. Then Ethan said something unexpected. I was supposed to marry someone else. Olivia froze completely. What? My father arranged it. Her family owned shares in the company. He threatened to destroy you if I refused. Olivia's breath caught. Ethan continued quietly. I left because I thought protecting you meant disappearing. Tears threatened instantly, but she fought them back. You could have told me. I tried. Try harder. I was 22 and terrified. That answer hurt because it sounded real. Too real. Olivia leaned against the truck wall, trembling. You left me thinking I wasn't enough. You were everything. Then why didn't you come back? Ethan exhaled shakily. Because after I lost you, building the company became the only thing I had left. The confession lingered heavily between them. Olivia looked out at the rain-covered streets. For years she imagined Ethan as a selfish villain. But now she heard something else in his voice. A man carrying regret like a permanent wound. I hate you, she whispered weakly. Ethan answered softly. I know. But neither of them sounded convincing anymore. 3 days later, Ethan returned to the food truck. This time without the expensive car. Without assistance. Without security. Just jeans, a black hoodie, and tired eyes. Olivia nearly dropped a spatula when she saw him. You again? I'm hungry. You own restaurants. I wanted your cooking. The honesty in his voice unsettled her more than arrogance ever could. He ordered the cheapest thing on the menu and sat alone at a nearby bench while the evening crowd moved around him. Women recognized him instantly. Men stared in disbelief. But Ethan ignored everyone except Olivia. Finally, against her better judgment, she carried his food over personally. Here. Thanks. She turned to leave. Liv. She stopped. Ethan looked up slowly. Do you remember the diner on 8th Street? Her chest tightened instantly. The one open all night? He nodded. You used to draw smiley faces on my pancakes. Olivia looked away before emotion could betray her. That was a long time ago. Ethan studied her quietly. You stopped painting too? She blinked in surprise. How do you know that? You used to paint every Sunday morning. Olivia stared at him carefully now. You really did remember everything. Ethan gave a sad smile. You were the best part of my life. That sentence shattered something inside her defenses. Because rich men said beautiful things all the time. But Ethan didn't sound charming. He sounded broken. Before Olivia could respond, a luxury sedan screeched beside the sidewalk. A glamorous woman stepped out wearing diamonds and fury. She marched straight toward Ethan. Are you serious right now? Olivia instantly stepped back. The woman glared at her. So this is the food truck girl? Ethan stood immediately. Vanessa, not here. Vanessa laughed coldly. You canceled our engagement dinner for this? Olivia's stomach dropped. Engagement. Ethan looked exhausted. It's over, Vanessa. Your father won't allow that. Olivia suddenly understood everything. The power. The pressure. The prison Ethan lived inside. And for the first time, she wondered if he had truly suffered all these years too. The next morning, Olivia discovered her food truck covered in red violation stickers. City shutdown notice. What? She gasped. 2 inspectors stood nearby. Your permits were revoked, one explained mechanically. That's impossible. I renewed everything. Take it up with City Hall. Panic hit instantly. Without the truck, she had nothing. No income. No future. No survival. As the inspectors drove away, a black car pulled beside the curb. Ethan stepped out immediately after seeing the stickers. His face darkened instantly. What happened? Olivia laughed bitterly through tears. Looks like the universe still hates me. Ethan grabbed one of the documents and read silently. Then his expression changed completely. Cold fury. My father did this. Olivia blinked. What? He owns half the council. No, why would he care about me? Ethan looked directly into her eyes. Because he knows I still love you. The world seemed to stop moving. Olivia stared at him speechlessly. There it was. The truth neither of them had dared say aloud. Ethan stepped closer carefully. I never stopped. Tears burned behind Olivia's eyes instantly. You can't say things like that. But it's true. No, she whispered shakily. You don't get to come back after 10 years and tell me you love me. I know. Then stop making this harder. Ethan's eyes softened painfully. I think losing you was the biggest mistake of my life. Before Olivia could answer, Ethan's phone rang. His expression changed the second he saw the caller. Father. Ethan answered coldly. What? Even from several feet away, Olivia could hear the older man screaming through the phone. Then came the sentence that changed everything. You choose that girl, and you lose the company. Ethan went silent. The wind moved softly between them. Olivia looked at him carefully. The billionaire CEO suddenly stood at a crossroads. Love, or power. And for the first time, she realized he might actually choose her. By evening, every business news channel exploded with headlines. Ethan Vale resigns as CEO. Olivia nearly dropped her coffee watching the report inside her tiny apartment. That can't be real. The reporter continued breathlessly. Sources say the resignation followed a private conflict within the Vale family empire. Her phone rang instantly. Ethan. Olivia answered shakily. What did you do? I'm outside. She rushed to the window. There he stood in the rain. Alone. No driver. No security. No billion-dollar image. Just Ethan. Olivia ran downstairs without thinking. The second she stepped outside, she saw it in his face. Freedom. And fear. You resigned, she whispered. Ethan nodded. My father gave me a choice. And you picked me? I should have done it 10 years ago. Olivia stared at him in disbelief. You gave up everything. Ethan stepped closer slowly. No, his voice cracked softly. I gave up everything when I lost you. Tears filled Olivia's eyes instantly. Years of anger collided with years of buried love all at once. You broke me, Ethan. I know. You disappeared when I needed you most. I know. You left me alone. Rain soaked both of them as silence hung heavily in the air. Then Ethan reached into his coat pocket carefully. A folded piece of paper. Olivia opened it with trembling hands. It was an old sketch. Her sketch. A drawing she made of the future they once dreamed about together. Small house. Food shop. Kids. A life. You kept this, she whispered. Ethan smiled sadly. Every hotel. Every office. Every country I traveled to, I carried it with me. Olivia's walls finally cracked completely. Because no man carries a decade-old dream unless it truly owns his heart. And suddenly she realized something terrifying. She never stopped loving him either. Olivia kissed him before logic could stop her. Right there in the rain. Right there beneath the city lights. 10 years of heartbreak exploded into one desperate moment. Ethan froze in shock for half a second before pulling her closer like he'd been starving for her touch. Cars passed. Thunder echoed. Nothing else mattered. When they finally separated, both were breathless. "I hate that I still love you," Olivia whispered through tears. Ethan gently touched her face. "I never wanted you to stop." She laughed weakly while crying. "You're unbelievable." "No," Ethan said softly. "I was stupid." For the first time in years, Olivia saw the real him again. Not the billionaire. Not the CEO. Just Ethan. The boy who once danced with her barefoot in a tiny kitchen at 2 a.m. But reality returned quickly. "What happens now?" Olivia asked. Ethan looked up at the apartment building behind her. "I honestly don't know. You lost your company. You're worth more." Her heart nearly shattered hearing that. Suddenly headlights flashed across the street. A black luxury car stopped nearby. Ethan's father stepped out. Tall, cold, powerful. Richard Vale looked at Olivia with complete disgust. "So this is the girl." Ethan instantly stepped in front of her protectively. "Leave." Richard ignored him. "You destroyed everything for her?" Ethan answered calmly. "No. You destroyed everything trying to control me." Richard's expression hardened. "You'll regret this." Ethan looked back at Olivia before answering quietly. "No. Losing her was the regret." For the first time, Richard Vale realized he had already lost. Not the company. His son. And without another word, Ethan turned his back on billions. To stand beside the woman he truly loved. 6 months later, Rosie's kitchen had a line stretching around the block. But it wasn't because of Ethan's money. It was because Olivia's food became famous across Chicago. People loved the story of the food truck girl and the billionaire who gave up everything for her. Though most headlines got one thing wrong. Ethan never saved Olivia. They saved each other. Inside the newly renovated restaurant, Olivia laughed while shouting orders across the kitchen. The place glowed with warmth now. Music. Energy. Life. And near the counter stood Ethan in an apron that read, "CEO of Washing Dishes." "You missed a spot," Olivia teased. "Yes, chef." Customers snapped photos constantly, stunned seeing former billionaire Ethan Vale bussing tables with a smile. But Ethan looked happier than he ever did on magazine covers. Late that night after closing, Olivia found him standing alone outside the restaurant. "You okay?" she asked softly. Ethan handed her an envelope. "What's this?" "Open it." Inside was a deed. Olivia frowned in confusion. "You bought another restaurant?" Ethan smiled gently. "No." She looked closer. Then her breath caught. It wasn't a restaurant deed. It was ownership papers for the old Detroit apartment building above the laundromat. The place where they first fell in love. "I bought it back," Ethan whispered. Tears filled Olivia's eyes instantly. "Why?" Ethan stepped closer. "Because this time, I want to start our story from the beginning." Then he dropped to one knee. The city lights reflected in Olivia's tears as Ethan opened a tiny velvet ring box. And the former billionaire looked up at the food truck girl like she was the greatest thing he'd ever found. Because she was.